against each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones of holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The paupers see this mockery and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Whew, it's been a doozy lately. If you are tuning in tonight at all, it's because you expected to see Russian vids and I talking, and we are going to do that, but we're going to do it on the 20th now because I rescheduled, because I've been very, very sick, and I'm finally feeling better today, just like a little bit. Enough to come say hi to you guys at least and say what's up and share my thoughts on a few things, but not enough to feel like I could give my best to a guest who I've never met and don't know very well. And so we agreed to reschedule to the 20th. He is very gracious to agree to do that, and that works out well for me. You may have noticed that, hey Lori, what's up? Good to see you. You may have noticed I wasn't here on Sunday or Tuesday. That's because I was visiting family, which was exceptionally nice. I would share so many cool pictures with you, but my brother and his wife don't like to share images of their kids online, which I think is smart and awesome. And so I respect that. But my goodness, it was cute and wonderful. I got to meet my new niece and spend more time with my little nephew. And he's an amazingly bright young man. His vocabulary is crazy. He's 1 year, maybe like 1.5. He turns 2 in May, at the end of May, so pretty close. And he knows a billion words, and he'll tell you all about all kinds of things. And I've never seen that young of a child talk that precociously, so that was pretty cool to catch up with them and play with them. And then I got to see my very closest friend and her little son. He's my kind of fake nephew, and that was also really good. And seeing them play together was like, it was rad. So that's why I wasn't here on Sunday. I was going to try to pop in and say a quick hello if I could, and it didn't work out because that's actually when I got sick. And then Tuesday I was flying back home to Colorado and got sicker, and I've just been sick all week. So it is maybe a virus. I never got a fever. I didn't have most of the normal sort of viral infection clues. If you want to get graphic about it, you could just imagine my body exploding with liquids from all possible places, except my head. Okay, my mouth. I'll just tell you, I was barfing and had diarrhea, and it's gross and true. And that was days. This is day 5, and I'm just now starting to stop having symptoms. But like I said, it didn't really seem like a flu. I didn't have a fever. No one else around me was sick ever. Still, no one has gotten sick. But I hear a whole bunch of people do have a stomach bug. So I have this thing where I rarely get sick, and when I do, I tend to get this very mild, very quick version of it. So it's possible that it was a stomach flu and that I fought it off quicker than a lot of people might, or had less symptoms, or who knows what. I looked into food poisoning. It didn't seem like it was that. It was just really hard to sort of suss what was going on, and I still don't know. I just know that I'm better. And a lot of well-meaning people, including family and friends, everybody's worried about you and everybody wants you to go to the doctor and the hospital. And I didn't go because I just knew I'm not that sick. Like it's a weird symptom. It's a weird set of symptoms to have for so many days. And they do tell you to go to the doctor. But I mean, how many times have you gone to the doctor? What's up, Sue? And what's up? I think I saw Brett in here too. Hey guys. And if you're on Facebook, as usual, I can't see your comments, so hop over to YouTube or DLive if you want me to be able to see that. But I just feel like when I go to doctors, 90% of the time throughout my entire life, they look at you and they say, we don't know, and they throw antibiotics at your face, and it's almost never a bacterial infection that you're fighting. And then you take the antibiotics, and then you get worse because you're killing all your good probiotic, prebiotic, good bacteria in your gut biome, and making it worse and a longer recovery. And I just knew that they were going to throw that or some other pill at me without even knowing if it would help. And so I didn't do that. I just trusted my body to get better. And it has through just rest and, drinking fluids. So I'm finally getting better. Yay. Here's some of my fluids I'm drinking. water with a tiny bit of sugar and salt is also really, really good. Thank you, Ryan. I am feeling better. What's up, Sue? Good to see you. So yeah, I avoid doctors at all times possible. I don't want to do it to the point of danger. If I felt like my life was actually in danger, I would definitely go seek help from Western medicine. But I'm not going to lie in that the things that helped me the most, besides what I've already listed, which you would do for any illness, which is rest and hydration, was visualizing myself being well and asking friends to do the same. And I have a meditation group where we visualize for each other when we feel like we need that. And it's not just that I'm a believer in that, it's that I've seen the results of it. And whether you want to call it a placebo, which we know is real and works, or you want to call it manifestation or anything you want to call it, it works. And so I just always suggest that people try that. And I forget myself sometimes. I get stuck in whatever bad situation is going on, and I forget that I have a lot more power than I'm meant to believe, and I forget to practice that visualization skill and to take that time and do that. And I'm really grateful when I remember, because it almost always produces very great results. And seriously, I started yesterday remembering I could do that. I asked for a meditation from the group and we did that. And then, I did some of my own yesterday and today. And today, like, all of a sudden I started turning around. One more thing I'll mention about what I think is very helpful in wellness is fasting. And you should be careful with it. If you've never done it, you shouldn't jump right into it. You should be drinking water with minerals in it. There's a guy named Cole who I would love to interview if I can figure out how. And he does the snake diet, and he promotes snake juice, which is not something he sells. It's just the name of a very specific ratio of no salt, Himalayan pink salt, and aluminum-free baking soda in water. It's a perfect electrolyte mix. It's a perfect mineral mix, and it keeps you from feeling hungry. And I've talked about it before. And so it not only keeps you hydrated, which you want, but if you are going to try to fast, which gives your body some extra energy and time to fight invaders and bad things rather than digest, then that is the way to go. It's very, very helpful. You don't want to do sugary beverages like this or juices, because the carbs in there are something that needs to be digested, and they might be helpful. But if you are going for that fasting effect and trying to kick something with fasting, then you would want to do just the water and the minerals. My body did want food, so I just did short fasts, like 20 hours instead of prolonged fasts. And yeah, like I said, I'm finally feeling better. I'm still tired. I'm still kind of woozy, still kind of out of it. If I sound like a weirdo at any point during this feed, then that's why. I see Lacey Hinshaw is here. Hey, what's up, Lacey? We got Ramsey. Nice to see you again, Ramsey. And I feel like I saw someone else who jumped in. Did I say hey to Ryan? Hi, Ryan, if I didn't say hi already. Yeah, so then I wanted to, because I had a lot of people asking me, like, oh no, is it coronavirus? Like, is it the WuFlu, as we're calling it? And it's not. There's nothing respiratory about it. So I knew from the beginning that it wasn't. Those symptoms that I described having are not related to that virus, as far as I know. And again, everything we know about this virus is questionable, because we're getting it from the mainstream media, and we know how much they fuck with us, whether people actually delivering it know that they're fucking with us or not. The people controlling the message, they lie a lot and they misrepresent a lot, and there could be a billion things going on. There could be absolutely no real coronavirus anywhere in the world. There could be no one dead. These things are possible. It's possible that it's all made up and false. And that's where I was, I don't know, when did this start? Like a month ago or less? That's where I was, and that's what I've said on this show, is we have nothing to fear. It's probably fake. It's probably meant to make us afraid, just like Ebola virus, which is very real, but was never much of a threat to us in the United States here. And just like Zika virus, which I don't even think is a virus. I think it's a chemical industrial pollutants in the environment that's having those effects on babies and mothers. And those things have shown us that these can be just a bunch of bullshit and fear porn and or a way to cover someone's ass for chemical dumping or whatever. There can be so many things. So that's where I go first. When I hear about these things, I'm like, probably nothing to worry about. It's probably fake. The more this has gone on, the more I have wondered if it is real or not. And there are a lot of very strange things around it. And so because I'm thinking about illness and wellness, and because this is kind of coming up over and over again, and because I'm sort of starting to wonder if I'm going to change my mind and decide that it is real. Again, I don't know, but one of the things that brought it home to me is that they're going to house hundreds of potential coronavirus infectees in the city in which I live, in Colorado. So now you probably know where I live if you look that up, but that's a little bit worrying. I mean, a quarantine is a quarantine. It's meant to keep it contained, but we've been programmed a lot through all these movies and media scaring us with not only like zombie apocalypse kind of viral outbreaks, but just outbreaks of regular viruses that kill everyone. So like The Stand and the Andromeda strain. These were some of my earliest programmings to think about outbreaks and all of this stuff. And so, yeah, I like Gordo's Gareg in D-Live. I also lean towards hoax. I really do. I've said that too, but I'm just willing to keep my mind open that maybe it is real. And if so, there's these things that I have talked about being well are really important for us to keep ourselves as well as possible, in case it is real and in case it is coming, because it seems like this year has been a lot of very virulent strains of viruses running around. Like I said, never get sick. I haven't been sick since I was a teenager, and I did a lot of really gross drugs back then, and my immune system was very weak, I'm sure, because I ate like shit and I did drugs and I drank and I smoked, and so I got really, really sick back then a few times. I haven't really been sick since then. I don't really get, like I said, I don't really get sick. If I do get a virus, it's like a day or two that I feel kind of crappy and then it's gone. It's like my body fights it off really well. So this year's been different. I had a flu in November. It was a flu of the sort of chest and head, and I mean, it sounds like coronavirus when I look back on it, but that hit me really hard, and I was sick for over a week. I think 9 days was my length, and a lot of people swept through and got a lot of people, and in fact, I hear it's still getting people and sweeping around the country, so that's definitely real and hit me. And then this thing, whatever this was that I just got as well, hit me, so now I'm concerned that I've been sick twice in the recent months, and that's very unlike me, and I'm not unhealthier than I've been. In fact, I'm healthier than I've been in the last handful of years. I've been cleansing and doing some fasting stuff and just eating better and paying attention to my nutrition more and meditating more. And so all of these sort of aspects of health I've been focusing on. And so for it to hit now is especially weird. So I had this thing pop up, which I'll show you guys. I'm going to say what's up to Trey. Trey, thank you so much for the super chat. You're so great at that. That means a lot to me. Thank you. You guys should check out Trey's channel. He's an amazingly funny, very awake person who is, he makes it easy to be awake, makes it funny and just kind of, he doesn't sugarcoat it. I don't know what I'm trying to say. He just reminds you that everything's okay. Trey's a cool guy. Go check him out. And I think I said hey to everyone else. So, I'll just show you some things, and while I'm pulling all this up, I'm going to remind you that the podcast is up again. It is here on SoundCloud, if you want to go there, but it's also on every single podcast app. This is just where the feed stems from. So any podcast app you have, if you have Rogue Ways, it's working again. Here's my subscribe star. I do have a few things for the public. If you're not sure if you want to support yet, you can go and check out the few free things that I've offered. And then there's a couple different levels of subscription that you can do. If you subscribe, you get a free copy of Sine Curve of Aeons, which is my novel. And the audiobook for that is being presently released on Subscribestar, and that's where you can access that. So your support means the world to me. It is everything, and I love you very much for that. There's also my site under my pen name, CoreySharman.com. You can also get there by going to rogueways.org, where you get lots of different writings from me, and you can grab some Rogue Ways gear while you're there, and that is fun. There's all kinds of t-shirts, cups, and accessories that you can grab if you want to support Rogue Ways. And one last way to support me is by getting yourself a tarot reading. And honestly, that supports you more than me. It's a very, very helpful process for many, many people. It can give you insight and clarity on anything that you would like insight and clarity on. So you can grab a tarot reading while you're there as well. So anyway, one of the things that I saw, I'm going to come back to some of these, was this. That someone posted, and this is, in Wuhan. So we know China is behind 5G. If you go into 5G where it came from, China is the sort of progenitor of that and the force rolling it out around the world, along with Google, who's helping them to unroll that in the United States, as well as other things. Google could possibly be considered a treasonous corporation and all the help they're giving to China. But anyway, that's its own rabbit hole. But it is interesting, if this is true, that Wuhan is where 5G was first rolled out. We know that 5G works on a millimeter wavelength. We know that our cells are millimeter size scale, and so we know that 5G could possibly affect our cellular level. And, we know that electromagnetic frequencies in general do affect us physically. And so it's not a stretch to wonder if 5G is specifically targeting our cellular level. So it's interesting that Wuhan, which is where this epicenter of this sort of outbreak, if it's real, has happened. It's interesting that that's also where 5G was first unleashed. Aside from that, they're saying here that it's not even that great, which I think we could have guessed. We don't, it's fast enough. Like, if we can navigate in our cars with a computer that's telling us every single turn, I think we're fine. I don't know why we would need something more, but here we are with it anyway. And it's just interesting to wonder if 5G is affecting us on that level and making it so that our cells are having a hard time keeping themselves healthy and keeping invaders out. Like I said, I'm wondering this because of myself and having this sort of sudden viral infections or whatever pathogens have been infecting me lately. Is it that 5G is starting to be unrolled here? We know that we've seen the towers going up all over the country, and some people have said they see it on their phone, that they have the 5G signal. I don't myself, but I don't disbelieve them. These are just normal people saying that. And so it's hard to tell where and how much 5G is being rolled out, but it makes me wonder if it is being rolled out and if it's affecting my, cells at the cellular level, and it's making me more, I'm losing my words, susceptible to these types of infections. So it's interesting that that's happening with the coronavirus possibly, and that it maybe is happening to us here too. And this is one more reason not to be afraid. Don't be afraid. That's never going to be helpful to be afraid or stressed out, but to be aware and to then take whatever precautions you can, tighten up whatever you can. It's like, I'm not perfect and I eat maybe a lot of too much sugar sometimes, or do you know what I mean? Like, there's things that we can maybe say like, okay, if we are going to be assaulted in a physical way by this possible outbreak or by 5G, then maybe there's things we can do to be even more healthy, because our bodies are capable of doing anything. And the more we give them that benefit to be capable of doing anything, the more likely we are to fight off these things. And so we want to be aware, and we want to think about that, and we want to think about what we can do, because we can do a lot, and we should not ignore that. Again, our minds are more powerful than anything that they have ever unleashed and ever could unleash against us. So we just want to keep that at the forefront of all of this. No fear, just action. I'm going to see who else has shown up. What's up, Jillian? Nice to see you. Hey, Sasha. Kathy's here. Hi, Kathy. I think I've said hey to everyone else. So I wanted to show you some other things that also popped up. Like I said, I've just been kind of going over this, but a lot of this might be review for you, but this is a reminder that they did have this event 201, where Bill Gates and his cronies at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation sort of simulated, of course, a coronavirus outbreak. It wasn't just any other random outbreak, it was coronavirus. They just did this in, I want to say October 2019. Oh, here we go. Yeah, October 2019 in New York City. We know that in the past, when they have both false flags and just actions that they take, that they often do a simulation right beforehand or at the same time. So it's just interesting timing. And it definitely points towards, again, even if it is a false flag, that doesn't mean it's not real, right? Just because we have a false flag doesn't mean people don't actually die, or that this virus isn't real, or that it's not actually infecting people. Those could all be true, and it could still be a false flag. But this points to it being a false flag. This points to it being a planned outbreak. This is one of the many pieces that points to that. So we do have that event that took place. I hear they even gave out little plushy toys of the virus. So sweet. We have this interesting bit that this virus is going to shape China's smart city vision. Of course, as someone in the group that I'm grabbing all of these things from, which is Eyes Open on Facebook, a lot of really awesome people share a lot of interesting content there. And so it's easy to kind of put all these things together. I don't even have to try. But this China Smart City Vision, this is the Hegelian dialectic, right? We have this problem, and then we have their solution, or we have the people's reaction to it, and then we have the solution offered by the state to take care of that problem. But the problem itself was planned, and the reaction was planned, and obviously the solution was planned. But this is just saying that, with all the high population of China and China's total control of everything, it's really easy to plan out things like this with high populations, like 11 million people, I guess, is Wuhan's population. But they want to make healthcare, artificial intelligence, and surveillance a part of these smart cities, which we've been hearing about for a long time, and tie into Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 and all of these things, to curb future pandemics, right? And you don't want them to solve future pandemics unless they have a recent pandemic to look at and say, look at how bad this can be. You need our help. So it's just interesting. And this is another way that technology is going to be inserted in our lives in order to control everything we do and surveil everything we do and give us as little freedom as possible, right? So that's just interesting to note that that is going on as well. Fuck you, Bill Gates. This is the one that blew my mind. If you are like me and I honestly have never played Resident Evil, but I've been watching people play it for decades, and I would have never put this together, but someone did. In Resident Evil, the game series, that's been out for a long time, the Umbrella Corporation releases a virus that infects people of Raccoon City. A biological research lab with the exact same logo as the Umbrella Corporation can be found in the city where the coronavirus outbreak originated. Corona is an anagram for raccoon. It's the exact same logo. That can't be a coincidence. That's not how the world works. We know that the coincidences that lead us along our path are a lot smaller and a lot more fun than these, pre-planned. I mean, this entire corporation had to develop this logo. How would they not have known that it was being used in this game? It's interesting. And there's just another piece of the puzzle there too, that this lab, in China is in Wuhan. So, it's not a coincidence that this lab that works on viral components is right there in the center of the outbreak. So there's that little interesting piece of information. This is just funny. They release these, how to stay safe. And I'm really, really shocked that they don't have on here anything about a vaccination, because as ridiculous as it is, they are promoting the flu vaccine for the coronavirus. It doesn't make any sense. It literally has no rationale. There's no logic to it. There's no connection between flu and coronavirus, but they're still suggesting that people get the flu vaccine in order to prevent the coronavirus. Don't follow that instruction. As far as I'm concerned, since the flu virus vaccine has never been shown to be very effective at all, even if you believe their studies, which are probably flawed, it especially has never been shown to help in coronavirus outbreaks. So leave that one alone if you would like. But yeah, pretty general things. Clean your hands, cover your nose and mouth, avoid contact with people with symptoms, thoroughly cook your food, and then don't have sex with animals. Just in case you guys didn't know, you don't want to do that. I'm like, it's true. A lot of people actually, I guess, do it. It's unfortunately a really horrifying aspect of humanity, but it's just interesting that they're going to put that on there. They always like to, even especially when they create the virus and spread it themselves, they want to find a really disgusting way to debase everyone and blame it on us, right? Yeah, so that's pretty gross. This is also gross. When I was watching this, I was like, this could so very easily be just staged. But this man is just spitting on containers of maybe water, some kind of packaged drink, which you would guess some people would probably be grabbing if they're sick and they have money, because that is a good way to stay hydrated, especially if your running water is not safe. So that's gross. What they're saying is their motto is, if I die, you die with me. This makes me really sad. This is another thing. I don't really want to believe it. I want to think this is more sort of propaganda of, again, blaming it on us, making it seem like we're disgusting and foul and, instead of the victims of their plots and designs and machinations. And so, but I also know that humanity can do pretty bizarre and extreme things when pushed and when they feel like they're kind of back up against the wall. So it's just an interesting thing I caught. I, again, want to caution that it's possible that this is just propaganda, but there it is. Really gross. So I'm just very aware when I'm in public, anything you touch is going to be coated in pathogens, most likely. And I'm just really aware not to touch my face and then to wash my hands every chance I get. Because that's the best you can do. You're not going to avoid contact with viruses and pathogens. But yeah, I'm with you, Philip. It looks staged to me. It's just too convenient of a. That guy's not even trying to hide. So, but again, who knows? I think that these are the types of things we want to kind of question and say, it's not really our fault. We don't fuck animals and we don't spit on other people's stuff. So in general, so we're not going to take the blame for this one. That's how I feel about it. But an interesting one. We've got, and these are in no particular order, just so you know, I just opened every tab of all the things that I could find in the group that had been interesting to note. So this was interesting, though. They have these buses full of sort of people dealing with the coronavirus. They're all in their full suits here, as you can see, head to toe, viral contaminant, like suits, protectors, or whatever. And then the bus driver doesn't need that, though. Screw him, I guess. And here's another one where people have got masks and they're outfitted and whatever, but not that guy. He doesn't. He's a superpower. If you're a bus driver, you're a Superman. You don't get infected. So that's just weird to know. There's other people in here who aren't really protected that well either, so who knows what this scenario is. But it just kind of lends to the possibility of maybe it's not that real. Maybe it's not that virulent. I don't know. It's just an interesting thing. I haven't kind of put my finger on yet, like why none of these bus drivers are protected, but always the person in the front who's the most prominent is. This is a thing, as I sometimes wonder if they put this out, on purpose to be to kind of plant questions in our minds and to kind of make us wonder. And I don't know. I think it's really hard to suss these things out and to know what's actually happening, but it's good to stay open-minded and to question. And I just noticed this is called the Horseman bus. And so that's interesting. We've got the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse sort of comes to mind with that. I wonder if the others had any indication of their brand. Looks like a similar kind of bus. It had the same logo at least. It's interesting. So we've got the horseman busmen with no protection. What's up exactly? Nice to see you here. This was an interesting tidbit. That this coronavirus genome has been shown to have a sort of HIV-like component, whether that was added in manipulation or whether they just happen to have similarities. It's hard to tell. You can see me here commenting. Are they saying that these are all lab-created and released viruses, SARS, coronavirus, and HIV? In my mind, that would be the simplest answer, and it's very likely, although I don't know for sure, obviously. And it's hard to say what this actually implies. It is really, really interesting that today I was watching the news, as I like to sort of keep up on what the programming is, what they want us to think, and what's kind of going out, and what people are likely to start saying to me if I talk to them about things in the normal world. And they had said, in addition to, keep healthy and wash your hands and get your flu vaccine, which again is a ridiculous thing to suggest for the coronavirus. In addition to all of that, they also were suggesting that it might be HIV-related antivirals that we would be taking if we do have coronavirus breakout in the United States. And I just thought that was interesting to note. They're antivirals, so they're both viruses, and they would be used, I guess, for both. But I just personally, and I could be wrong, and correct me in the comments or in real life if you see me, just if you know better than me, because I don't know. But it's just interesting that there's this HIV connection to coronavirus, and then they're mentioning HIV medication on the news. It just piqued my little synchronicity noter, and so who knows what's going on there. But yeah, HIV similarities to coronavirus doesn't make me feel comfortable, especially since, again, both seem lab created. We've got the patents for them owned by various organizations in the US. So interesting. All right. And then this was obviously, you've probably noted this as well before, but this Harvard University professor, and I probably picked the worst link I could have to open because there's no picture of him, I think, on here. Darn it. But anyway, this guy worked at Harvard. He's a university professor, and it turns out that he has been getting paid by China for years, and of course has connections to Wuhan and chemical biology, right? And so it's interesting. He's caught finally. This is treasonous. It's treason to work with a foreign government. If you're a citizen of the United States and you're helping their government without our government sort of being involved or whatever. I'm not explaining that well, but I think you guys know what treason is. And yeah, he's the strategic scientist at Wuhan University of Technology, but he hadn't disclosed this, and he's also working for Harvard, but he's getting this paycheck for China. So, I mean, we see this possible pathway of how coronavirus sort of got handled and transmitted maybe to China, and the motivation for doing so is, lots of money. So there's another interesting connection. Again, I don't think anything in this sort of press release or the Department of Justice's words has really necessarily connected him to this outbreak. That's just speculation, obviously, but it's just interesting timing. It's interesting connections. So there's that as well. I like this question that Philip is asking in the chat. He says, why do we let labs create viruses, especially spiked with HIV? Thanks, Bill Gates. That's a good question. We have all of these people who are working on all these viruses all the time, and we know that they get out from time to time, and we know that there's the possibility of infection, and we also know that why would you create them unless you're going to use them in either viral warfare, biological warfare, or other nefarious causes. So interesting to note, why do we put so much time and effort and money into that? But here's another interesting aspect of the virus. China is going to bail out itself because China is the market in China. China is the government and the market. There's no difference. So they're going to bail themselves out to calm this coronavirus outbreak. It is interesting if it's true that it is decimating the Chinese economy, and this is all at the time that, Trump has sort of stuck it to China and kind of made them handle more of the tariffs and trade and whatnot between the U.S. and China, because we've been kind of getting the bad end of the deal. Again, I'm not an economic whiz, so if I'm misspeaking, then forgive me, but that's at least the cover story, of what's going on. And then at the same time, this happens and China's economy is sort of tanking. So, I mean, there's another possible motivation for releasing such a virus. It could be, like I just said, biological warfare. However, with that connection to the Harvard guy and Bill Gates, and that event that they held, event 201, as well as the patents that are held on the coronavirus being from the United States, it's very possible. It's just, I don't know. It seems like China would have to be in on it, but what do I know? There was something else interesting about this. I might have to come back to it because I don't remember at the moment. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Obviously, that's one of the fears, but there's also the possibility, and I don't think I have opened up a tab on it here, but there's the possibility people were saying that those Hong Kong protests that we were hearing so much about have suddenly kind of died in the media, and the idea that China would infect its own population in order to stop these protests, and that's obviously a possibility. I wouldn't put it past China. China's one of the most just disgustingly unethical countries in the world, as far as I can tell. And so I don't know why they wouldn't. I just would then think it's interesting that they have Wuhan as the epicenter instead of Hong Kong. So I'm not sure that is actually true. It's also possible that those protests have just stopped, as many protests do after they've been co-opted and infiltrated from the outside, if that weren't just pure stagecraft from the beginning. So I think I saw someone new over here. Shadow, what's up? Thanks for stopping by. Good to see you. And Shadow points out the patents are not for the virus itself, but usually for the accurate and reliable ways to detect it. It is actually, they actually have patented the like DNA genome of the virus itself, but that is the story, is that the reason why, and it is a very, very rational story. It could be true. I don't mean that it's not true by saying that it's a story, but it is very possible that that is why they have patented it, is so that they can have these, detection and treatment abilities, and that they can test these things. And so that's what all of, that's the normie sort of MSM story about why those patents exist and why labs work on things like this. And I'm not saying that that's absolutely untrue. I'm just, it's just an interesting possible cover story for the real truth as well, right? This is interesting. I'm not obviously going to play this video. It's an hour long, but this is a channel that keeps popping up in my view, Yummy Mummy Emporium and Apothecary. So I might be wanting to interview this person sooner or later, but if they would let me. But they have this video, Kobe Bryant's ritual murder to fuel Wuhan coronavirus hoax caused by 5G and incinerator pollution. That is quite a title. I mean, really, like, this person should be writing, it's better than most. Oh my God, you guys, I'm forgetting the words again. The name of the article. You know what I'm talking about. I can't think of the word. This is what happens when you're sick for 5 days. Your brain starts to fall apart. Anyway, it's interesting. And I don't know what I think about the Kobe Bryant's ritual murder part. It's possible he was ritually murdered. He does have, there's a lot of weird like synchros and number sort of magic, and the date and the way it happened was predicted in a cartoon of this like helicopter crash. Like, all of that's really weird, and that could be its own kind of 10 episodes. And I'm sure you can find a billion episodes on that on YouTube on all your favorite channels. But I don't know about that. I'm gonna like leave that part kind of to whatever, because who knows. But it definitely could be used to fuel, we know that they like to kind of harvest this energy from us in these large scale headlines. Thank you, God damn it. Headlines was the word I was looking for. But to fuel their, they use our emotions to sort of fuel whatever it is they want to carry out next. So it definitely is interesting timing that happened right as this sort of Wuhan stuff and coronavirus stuff was sort of coming out and starting to, I mean, it's still not really coming to a head as far as we know. It still seems like it could be far away and few between and not really very relevant to our lives. But it is interesting timing that as this is sort of starting to develop and become more complicated, that this happens and Kobe Bryant dies. So maybe they're connected. But this part is what I think is interesting. So as we already pointed out, 5G could definitely be weakening us on a cellular level, making it a lot harder for our body to fight off outside invaders. And definitely China is so disgusting. I've been there twice. And both times it was just awful. I mean, I went to Beijing and the surrounding area for 10 days, and I, on a different trip, went to Shanghai and the surrounding area for 10 days. I'm just very lucky, and there was just an offer for teachers, and they made it really cheap, and it was awesome. It was cool. There's many, obviously, like any place, there's a lot of rich culture and history that is fascinating to be in touch with and learn about and meet, real normal people from China. And it was a cool experience, but China is disgusting. It was filthy and horrifying. I've never been anywhere grosser. I've never been anywhere more polluted. And it was so obvious how polluted it was. The sky. I mean, here I almost should feel lucky that we can even see the chemtrails that are sprayed on us, because you can see at least. And there, the sky was like, you can't even tell what the hell is going on up there. It's just like a fog of nastiness and really, really gross. The air is really gross. I had clothes literally that like changed from white to like a sort of shade of yellow, and it was just very disturbing that everywhere we went, that nature was dying. If you could find nature, it was dying. All the trees were sick. All of the grass was nasty and weird looking. All the water was disgusting. I saw people swimming in a lake once, and it really disturbed me. I was like, you guys are going to get sick and die. It's just very gross. So definitely your environment is going to affect your health. And if that is what people in China are dealing with, and worse, that was like the best of it is probably what I saw, because they only took us to the best parts that we could have access to. And we know they take a lot of our electronic waste and do a lot of mining and just don't care at all for the environment. So I'm sure there's areas of China. China's a vast, vast geographical place, but I'm sure there's areas that are beautiful still, but they were nowhere near the population centers. And so that will affect your health. And so there's definitely going to be an aspect of that, especially if you're breathing it in. Like if there's incinerators that are incinerating toxic materials, you're breathing that in, and you have 5G shooting at you, and they throw this virus out, and the food and the water there is not going to be very quality because everything around it is dying. So it's a pretty sad situation, and it would definitely be very easy for a virus to infect you in that scenario. So that I just wanted to point out as well. And then finally, this is the most interesting. And this is Tencent is like, I forget, but it's something like, China's Twitter or China's Facebook or something, because, China doesn't let people do what they want. So they have their own sort of controlled social media apps, or maybe it's more like Reddit. And, you can correct me if you know the answer. But Tencent briefly lists 154,000 infections and 24,000 deaths from the Wuhan coronavirus. So this is some sort of counter. There was a cool image of it down here somewhere. Here. There's a sort of counter that, is probably updated daily that people are seeing. And here it looks like kind of the normal, they have only 300 deaths. That's what they're reporting to the world. And then it just briefly, and this happened more than once, it jumped up to 24,000. And I'm going to say, I, again, didn't really believe that this was even a real virus. And it still could not be, and I could still be happily surprised that it's just a hoax and that we're meant to be scared for no reason. But I am going to point out that, I thought that I have my friend Robert, who is posting a lot of videos that were coming out of China, and China's highly controlled, so it's dubious when any video is sort of leaked from there. But you have to know that, it could happen, that someone could get a video out. So it could be that these videos are genuine and being leaked. If people are being targeted and by this virus and they're quarantining all these people, then there's going to be people who are trying to subvert that and fight back in some way. So there's videos that are very possibly convincing. They look real. They seem real. Again, it could be stagecraft. It could be faked. But it looks like there's bodies everywhere. It looks like there's bodies in body bags. It looks like there's people who are stuck inside of their apartment complexes and literally locked in from the outside and they can't get out. It looks like hospitals are overrun. It looks like chaos is sort of ensuing. There's even roadblocks that you could see in some of the videos. And maybe I'm tripping and I didn't take enough time to go looking for them before this episode, but I can't find them now. They were all posted on Eyes Open by Robert, and I can't find any of them now. I just searched for quite a while to find all those tabs that I just had up for you, and I didn't see a single one of them. So I'm very confused about that. I'm not confused in that I know that it's possible that those were all just erased by Facebook without a comment or a note, and that they're gone. It's also possible that I'm just not seeing them right now because Facebook is also full of fuckery and it just won't show you shit sometimes. So that's also possible, and they're still all there. It's just interesting. Those videos were pretty alarming, and if they're real and not staged, and it was then even more alarming that they were kind of gone. So I like to be sort of even-headed about all of this and say, it still could be a hoax. We've got another Carnival cruise that's now infected with the coronavirus and being quarantined, and we saw this a few years ago with whatever other viruses, and what a horrible place to get stuck and quarantined. This is one more reason to never go on one of those cruises. They're whatever. If you like them, then I'm sure they're fun and relaxing, but I think they're kind of awful for myself personally. And then getting stuck there, with a bunch of sick people and dying. If this virus is real, then it does have a pretty high death rate, actually. And that's also very concerning that people are just going into comas and dying. Because it doesn't seem, it's worse than the numbers, if they're real, are worse than the flu that usually happens every year. People die from viruses all the time, even very normal viruses like the flu, all the time. But this is a bit higher than normal. And so it'd be pretty scary to be stuck in a situation that you can't escape, in which you're being exposed to that. But again, whether it's real or not, whether this has all been crafted or not, whether it's been staged and totally falsified or not, in the end, it comes down to the same truth for you and I, and that is that like, as always, the best we can do is keep ourselves strong and well, and do that in every way that we can possibly think of doing it. Don't run yourself ragged. Don't, go out drinking too much. That'll lower your immune system real fast. Don't be using any kind of drugs that you don't need to be. For the time being, at least. Eat as many nutritious things as you can. There's this smoothies are really easy if you're not loading them up with sugar. They're very healthy for you. But there's also this acronym that I like that's really good for macronutrients to make sure that you're kind of eating enough of the macronutrients that you need. And it's GOMS, like combs, but with a G. GOMBS. You can remember that. You can remember that every day as much as possible. You want to try to eat greens, onions, mushrooms, beans, and seeds. Those are the kind of most nutrient-dense macronutrients that we can eat. Mushrooms are great as well. Fruits and veggies. There's the debate about whether you should have them raw or not. I don't think it really matters as long as you're kind of getting them into you and getting them from a good source that's full of nutrition, because a lot of the food that we have in the store is just empty shit. It's just been engineered to fuck all and doesn't have anything good in it. So you want to be getting as much local and organic as you can, obviously. And, again, a lot of it's in your head. If you think that you're going to be weak and susceptible to this virus and maybe die from it, then it's going to have an easier time affecting you. If you know that your body is sovereign and strong and that you can make it even stronger and sovereign at any moment that you want to by just giving it that awareness and that recognition, then it's going to have a much harder time getting to you. And even if you happened to be infected with this, then you're not going to necessarily die, especially if you can keep that in mind. Like, I'm going to be okay and everything's going to be fine. You're visualizing your recovery. I mean, people have survived the craziest shit. And we know in every outbreak that's ever been recorded, if they're real, there's always people who are immune or who survive it even through infection. So just don't let fear, even if it is real, and even if it comes to your doorstep, don't let it overcome your mind. Your mind is going to be the thing that gets you through any of these things. I just want to point out, interesting, that Gordon says, hey Gordon, hi by the way. Gordon says, my wife has the Kung Flu right now. I'm feeding her full of bone broth. Bone broth is a great remedy. Bone broth is also full of many nutrients that you need and that your body needs to fight things off. So that's awesome. And I'm very sorry for your wife. That's scary to hear. And I hope that she recovers. And what's up, Steve? And what's up, Kevin? Do I have advice for a person about to become a flight attendant? Eek. That's like the scariest. I think it's the scariest profession just because of how many germs circulate through that air control thing. I wish that they had HEPA filters on those. That'd be rad. But my advice is, as always, don't touch your face ever, and wash your hands as frequently as possible, and just keep your body healthy. There's not a lot else that you can do. And tons of people fly all the time and never get sick. Tons of flight attendants never get sick. Lots of teachers, too, were exposed to tons of germs, and lots of us never got sick. And so, you can be around germs and not get sick. There's practices, and that's mostly don't touch open orifices on your face or other parts of your body unless you've washed your hands. And wash your hands after you do as well. And so if you're a carrier, then you don't carry it to other people. What's up, Digital Apparition? I hear that guy's super sexy. Gonna say hi. I think I said hi to Steve already. Hi, Steve. Hi, Cody. I like that suggestion. Shop only around the edges of the grocery store. The Frankenfoods are in all the aisles. It's true. I've heard that before, and if you think about it, when you walk in, you usually over here you got the produce, and as you go back, you have sort of the meats and cheeses, and then around the other edge, you've got whatever breads and beverages and stuff. So it is interesting that the middle is sort of filled with all the crap, usually. Who else have I not said hi to? Lacey says she just collected a ton of shepherd's purse today, which is good for some of the symptoms of flu. I have never heard of that, shepherd's purse. It's interesting how many remedies you can find in your yard growing as weeds, and I'm not sure if shepherd's purse is one of those, but it's a fantastic, nature remedy that's just waiting there for us. I think I said, hey, what's up to Kevin? Yeah, and chiropractor. Chiropractor is great. I go to the chiropractor all the time. It's weird how many ailments a chiropractor can cure when you think that you're kind of like at the end of your trail of trying things, and then they're just like, you're like, wow, everything's better now. If you've never tried it, you should give it a try. And yeah, it's also interesting. Digital apparition is saying I use the George Carlin method. I don't avoid germs at all. There's actually like something possibly to that. You know, kids are like shoving everything in their mouth. They're shoving dirt in their mouth and just like random shit that they just grab off the floor and strangers. And they're like, you know, it's fucking crazy if you think about like how many pathogens are being introduced to their system, and yet how often are small children sick. You know, especially if they're not vaccinated, often not that often. They usually have really robust immune systems that sort of just keep everything at bay. And maybe we've gotten away from that, and sterilizing everything has made us sort of weak. So, man, I don't know. I am not the god of everything, and I don't know the answer. I just know what I try to do for myself, and that's like I said. Try not to touch your orifices. Try to keep your hands as clean as possible. And you know that hand disinfectant stuff? I mean, it's been shown over and over again to like not actually be that effective. It's also toxic. And so you're absorbing that into your body, and you're probably weakening your immune system in some way. I'd say like in a pinch, if you've like, you know, got something really nasty on your hands and no sink anywhere for a while, like I guess use it. But for the most part, if you rely on that, I would reconsider something else. It'd be way more effective to carry like a small vial of vinegar water around with you and just sort of douse that on your hands, because that vinegar kills everything. And if you didn't know that, like you can use it for a cleaner, you can disinfect anything. It kills better than like Lysol and all that bullshit, and it's not toxic. You could drink it. You could wipe it all over your body and be great. Like it's the best. So vinegar all the way. And let's see. Don't make golems. Golems are bad. Just joking. I mean, I actually think that, but do whatever you want. So yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to catch up with you guys about. Thanks for putting up with my absence on Sunday and Tuesday. I was going to talk about like sort of transgenderism and that kind of stuff. And then this came up, and then I was sick, and then the Wuhan virus has been on my mind. And, you know, I had some people kind of like, you should do an episode on it. And I'm like, it's not really my thing to do like an investigative research episode by myself. That's usually what I reserve for panel discussions. But I had all this stuff that was just popping up in the group, so I thought I'd at least share it with you guys. And next time I do a one-off episode of just me, I'll talk maybe about transgenderism and issues of sex and gender and whatnot in our society. But I always love to see you guys too. Thanks, Lori. And again, if you want to subscribe on Subscribestar, you get a free copy of Sine Curve of Aeons. This is the first novel in a trilogy. The second one is almost done, and I still haven't decided how to release it. Maybe you guys can help me decide. The last time I tried to get Sine Curve published, I went to like 70 publishers, and, you know, you get very few responses. I got like 4 or 5 responses, and a couple of them were pretty positive. Some of them gave me some pretty good feedback, which I used to edit it a bit more. And one of them was really into it, and they wanted to publish it. And so I was like, yes, it's going to get like actually published. And if you've heard this story before, forgive me, but they, you know, we didn't like, anyway, that was it. They expressed a lot of interest, and we were talking about it back and forth. And then they asked, has it ever been published before? And I said, well, it's never been published, but it's been self-published. I do self-publishing. And they were like, oh, well, we don't want it then. And I was like, what? Like, why? How could you be interested in it and then just back out because it's been self-published? And they're like, oh, well, you know, I had to like dig for the reason because it wasn't very forthcoming. And they said if it hadn't done well in self-publishing, then it wouldn't do well in publishing. And I was like, that doesn't even make sense. Like you have a distribution network, and you have advertisement, and you have people. Like, how could it not do better if it was like nobody knows it exists unless I tell them now? Like, I don't have advertising or networks. And so it was weird to me. It doesn't make sense to me, but I lost that. And then I just kind of gave up trying to publish it because I figured probably all publishing imprints are the same and feel the same way. So I don't know if I'm going to self-publish the next one or not. I have people on both sides telling me, you know, what I should do. And some people who have been published before, and they say, you know, the publishers don't really do any advertising and they don't really do any promotion. They don't, you know, they have distribution networks and it might be in a few stores, but like if no one's looking for it, then they don't really find it either. And so it's still not likely that you really, and then they also apparently give you really shitty contracts and percentages. And so, you know, so part of me is like, well, what's the point then of trying to get published with a real publisher? You know, why not just kind of publish it myself again and keep going with this method? So I don't know. I don't know what to do, but weigh in on it if you would like to tell me your insight, if you have any, into the publishing world, or what you think I should do, what you think would be best. Should I publish it or not? So again, it's the sequel of Sine Curve, and it's almost done. I know I've been saying that for a few months, but it really is almost done. So anyway, I, as always, love you all dearly. It is always nice to see your support in the chat room. It's nice to see you guys and interact with you here. I would love your support. I'm always grateful when people want to donate to PayPal, paypal.me/Corey Sharman. If you'd like to do that. And, oh, I forgot to mention, if you don't want to subscribe, but you still want a copy of the book, you can buy it from me cheaper than you can get it from Amazon. Amazon sells it for $15 plus tax plus shipping. I will sell it to you for $15 flat and ship it to you anywhere in the United States. So that would be something that you would just PayPal me a gift, and I will gift you a book. So sorry, Montauk Project Surfer. Sorry you just got here. You missed it. You can go back and rewatch it, though, in a moment. And hi, Chrissy, you made it. It's nice to see you. So yeah, I hope you all remember how powerful you are in your mind and your heart. If you can visualize it and add a positive emotion to it, then it's going to become reality. If you're going to put the positive or the negative emotion of fear, it's also going to become reality. So don't fear the dark side. Don't fear the virus. There's nothing to fear. You've been here before. You'll be here again. And you meant to be here. And so use your mind and your heart for all it is worth and create the reality that you desire. Keep yourselves well. And until you defeat all possible viruses and have no pathogens have any chance of harming your body, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah.
It's a one-on-one lesson, so do your homework. Make your dome hurt while up on earth. My bones are blessed from holy dirt. Vibes manifested to words that told me search for verbs and adjectives to describe birth. Worth more than one can speak. While the tongue feeds a weak, a sour taste in your mouth, bittersweet. Words can also kill you when you sleep. Mind condition, low frequencies while the subconscious mind listens. I can television filled with lies, disguised as truth, and spread it like the word to the youth. Watch the tube. A place where the God was booed is sorcery. To recreate the God forgery does more than meets the eye. Not too many know. Just hear me flow like the eye of Horus Henio. Yeah, not ready to leave until we believe we're free to go. You hear me? Run.
From the ether, the material will eat ya. Stuck on this plane, lanes use jet fuel to greet ya. The dimensional three ain't meeting me on top of the fourth. Didn't climb Jacob's ladder to squab with a sword. Forged with Yggdrasil, branched down. Try quiet your lamps now. Ascension past the matter. Let they slam out they damn mouths. We ain't on land now, but they over understand. Sacrificing wisdom, hoarding dumber, kosher, wicked hands. Putting faith in worthless worship of the mortals. Artificial portals, mass ingestion of the black goo. Bioengineered morsels, conversing with machine elves. Bypassing maggots, they stuck on Android screens now. I'm scrolling emerald tablets. Moloch living lavish, off the backs of the savage. Them clasped hands at the Sabbath. Smack of energy damage, they done twisted the tongues. With nanotech in the lungs, the awakening's begun. All they really can do is fucking run.